What's up, Parliament? Just want to say a quick thank you to each and every one of you who have been continually watching and supporting the channel. I'm Luke, I'm the CEO for Owls Oil, and in today's video we are going to be talking to you about some of the differences and the similarities between THCA hemp and marijuana. I do a lot of sales calls and I'm often talking to wholesalers. I'm also talking with retail clients who try our products. And one of the things that comes up is just the lack of education around THCA hemp and marijuana, because it is actually the same thing. Like, I had somebody who was requesting to get some, they were looking for some seeds, right? And so they said like they wanted, you know, the real seeds, right? Like marijuana, and then, you know, THCA hemp seeds, but it's the same thing. And so I'm going to break it down in this video to make it very, very clear for you so that you can very clearly understand and also recognize what a beautiful, mad world that we live in, because marijuana, or I should say THCA hemp, is federally legal. And there's only a few states where it's not legal, and it's more clearly defined than any of these illegal medical and recreational, how do I put it, licenses that are given out by states. Because marijuana, which is, I'll explain in further detail, is still a Schedule 1 substance, whereas THCA hemp is not. And the stipulations around its transport, distribution, banking is already worked out. So let's get into it. So let's just look at some of these definitions. So the main thing that people get hung up on here is the fact that if you've been coming from, let's say, somewhere on the West Coast, that you know that marijuana, cannabis, right, which is licensed in many of these states, is defined by the THCA plus Delta 9. Federally speaking, however, THCA, or just hemp, is clarified as just Delta 9. So we have a precursor, which is THCA. When you heat it to light your joint, it turns into Delta 9. That gets you high. But previous to that, it doesn't get you high. So as long as the plant is grown and harvested effectively, none of that THCA is going to really convert over to Delta 9, and it won't be more than 0.3, therefore making it legal. So just to clarify this again, you could, technically speaking, have marijuana in Oregon that if it tested less than 0.3 Delta 9 THC in Texas or Alabama or Florida would be considered THCA hemp, as long as it was grown with a hemp license versus, you know, a marijuana license. So what does that mean? It means that cannabis is legal throughout the whole United States. And THCA hemp is no different than marijuana. So you can literally buy cannabis, marijuana, the plant that gets you high, fully legally, with banking and payment processing, and ship it to your door for nearly every single state apart from, I think, 3 right now. So what does that mean? It means that you now have access, right? You don't really need to go to the black market anymore. You can buy good quality products that are tested. And the best way that I like to also try and explain this to people is like, when the laws were being written for hemp, the thought process, well, there wasn't enough education done in terms of these different cannabinoids, what was available, what wasn't. And what happened was, if we compare this to something like the alcohol industry, is that the law basically said, thinking, right, that like, hey, you can't have alcohol over this level, right? Let's say you can't have it over like a 0.3. And they thought, when they said about the alcohol, they thought they were just talking about vodka, and they said, hey, you can't drink vodka. And everyone else is sort of now going, wait, but I can drink whiskey, I can drink beer, I can drink wine, I can drink all these other things, but just not vodka? Yes. And then what it turned out is that actually you can drink vodka, right? As long as it's less than 0.3 of the total volume. So now it's like, okay, cool, we can actually do that too. And so it's really unique where this clearly wants to be out there, because it's like we all got our feet wet with HHC, Delta 8. Is this legal? Is it not? It is legal. No one's being prosecuted. Then there's some people, oh, maybe some stuff is synthetic. And then after that, now it's like, wait a second, THCA hemp is totally legal. Making sure you have a full chain of custody is important. Making sure you know your supply chain is important, because you could just be buying marijuana. But if you are caught with anything that has less than 0.3 delta-9 THC in it, that is called hemp. And that is clearly defined. I couldn't even wrap my head around it until I literally got called from a bank. And the bank is literally looking for new clients for THCA hemp, not marijuana, right? Marijuana, again, is illegal. It's a Schedule 1 substance. And that is something that has a high amount of delta-9, higher than 0.3 delta-9 THC. And everything else is considered hemp. It doesn't matter about the psychoactivity. None of that matters. This is literally just the fact that it is less than 0.3% delta-9 THC. So another reference that I like to think of too is like, it's almost like, I love to look at the different ways that these types of examples are happening in this world, right? So of course, we've got these like, things coming up about, is it like A or is it B or is there option C? And so, for instance, if we look at like, we've got all these bloody impossible meats, right? So it's like originally you start off and you're like, okay, so it's like, this is clearly defined, right? Like this is meat, right? It's a burger, it's a sausage, right? It's pretty straightforward. Then it's like, well, this is actually a sausage too, right? Like it tastes like meat. This is a vegan sausage, right? And it's like, okay, or this is a vegan patty, and you're like, okay, cool, I get it. There's a vegan patty, and then there's the meat patty, then there's the vegan one, and then like imagine this is like the meat is the marijuana industry, and then the vegan one turned out to be the hemp industry. But now what happened in the hemp industry is like, well, actually what we found out is like, you can call this like a vegan sausage, but it actually has meat in it. And that is basically what has happened. And so now we have this wonderful opportunity where we all in the United States have access to marijuana right now. Definitions are really important. You have access to psychoactive cannabis that is now called THCA hemp, because THCA hemp has less than 0.3 delta-9 THC and is readily available in multiple states, multiple websites, and you now no longer need to really worry about the black market having pesticide-ridden junk that's basically shipped out from, the West Coast to the East Coast, and for all the stuff that they don't want, they'll give that out. And now you actually have a wonderful opportunity to have so much choice, so much selection and discretion without all these excessive regulations that is, show your ID here, show your ID there, limits on how much you can buy, right? All of this crazy stuff. And here's the other great thing. You don't got to worry about your guns either, because hemp is not cannabis as in marijuana, which is a Schedule 1 substance. Hemp is fully legal. So now you can still retain your guns and still buy THCA hemp and get all of the same effects as marijuana without the risk. Can you believe it? I barely could. It took me so long to wrap my head around this, but this is where the world's at right now. You are literally living in cannabis legalization right now. There is just some terms that is saying that marijuana is prohibited, but why do we even want marijuana to be legal if it's a Schedule 1 substance? We have THCA hemp. It's all highly regulated, and at the end of the day, the high regulation leads to what? Big monster corporations taking over, the small people not getting the access, the people who built the industry not getting the access. THCA hemp is a wonderful alternative. And so I hope that really explained it for you. Please drop some comments below if you understand this, or if there's some areas you think you would have some questions, and I'll make sure to answer them below. But let's give a big yee-haw for cannabis legalization, everybody. Let's go. Thank you for watching the video.